As a young kid, I can remember going to church pretty much any time the doors were open. We were there, VBS, Wednesday night, Sunday morning, Sunday night, up until I was about in the 5th grade, I guess. And then some things happened based on some decisions that my family made, basically in the best interest of me. I won't get into all the details of that, but basically it ended up my family leaving the church. Through those circumstances, we quit going to church. And so from 5th grade up until I was an adult, we really didn't have a church life. We didn't have a church family. Based on some of the actions of the people of the church that we were going to, I had kind of formed an opinion at an early stage that the church was something we couldn't depend on because of what happened. Stepping away from the church like that, I think, opened a big door for the devil to do his work. So when I was in the 8th grade, my parents went out of town. My brother, of course, was in high school, and so he took me to town with him. And of course, being in the 8th grade, he didn't want to hang out with little brothers, so he bought us a bunch of beer and turned us loose. So I think that was the beginning of I've called it a quest. At that point in time, I wasn't one of the cool kids. I wasn't part of the cool crowd, but then I became part of the cool crowd because I had access to alcohol. It changed my perspective a lot, and so I think that was the beginning of my struggle with alcohol. I was building an image of who I was based on alcohol and who I was around when I had alcohol. Outside of that, I didn't feel like I was really anybody. I spent pretty much the rest of my high school career on into college. Every chance I got, I had alcohol. But not only struggling with alcohol, but struggling with porn addiction as well. I think some of that stuff goes hand in hand. Having a readily available supply of alcohol, basically anytime I wanted it, a readily available access to pornography. My life had become about me, egotistical about what I wanted, when I wanted it, and how I wanted it. Those life choices, looking back, and some of the poor choices I made because of the influence of alcohol in my life, I really feel lucky that I'm sitting right here talking to you. Anyway, I graduated college, still living that life. I started a career in teaching. I began to find some purpose in my life. Influences of good Christian people that I worked with that, just the little, hey, we'd like to have you come to church, stuff like that. I began to come to church, I knew who God was, but I didn't know God. So I started going to church here and there, got involved with the youth, kind of started seeing some changes in my life. And I remember one Sunday morning, and it was October of 2006. The invitation came, and before I knew it, I was up at the front. And that's when I made the decision to ask God into my life and to have a relationship with Jesus. But unfortunately, after that, there wasn't a whole lot of follow through. I was doing what I thought was right, but there was a lot of things that I was missing that I didn't understand, and I didn't reach out to the right people to try to help me learn where I needed to be headed. And so in the middle of that, I met my first wife, and we got married, and soon after we had a baby, and I thought life was good. My life was becoming complete. Those voids that I had felt in my life for so long, I thought were being filled with the right things. But what I didn't understand is I was still selfish. It was still about me. Rocked on. We had another baby. He was born in August, and my wife had some complications and was in the hospital and stuff like that, and kind of went through a rough patch. And then So I thought everything was kind of coming around, everything was going to be good. And on October 17th of 2012, the school district I was teaching at come to me and said, "Hey, Jace, we're not going to renew your contract." And that hurt. You know, I thought I was doing a good job. So I come home, told my wife, you know, and we kind of cried together. And, you know, I thought, well, it's going to be okay. 10 days later, I come home and she says she wants a divorce. And this broke me. And really sent me to a place that I never thought I'd be. You know, I mean, we had gone to church here and there, what I thought was doing our part, you know. Went through the divorce, went through losing my job kind of at the same time. The one place that I knew I should have run, I didn't. The first place I went to, the first chance I got was the closest bar I could get to. I spent about the next year in a drunken slumber. I didn't care. Everything I had ever wanted had been basically taken away from me. It was my mindset. I found myself just drinking everything that I could, everything in sight, trying to numb the pain, trying to fill that big hole in my heart. I was filled with a lot of anger, a lot of hate. And a good friend of mine, one day we were going to pick up some show pigs, and I was on my rant about something, you know, and at that time I was not a pleasant person to be around. He listened to me rant and then just calmly asked and looked at me and asked, and he said, "Jace, you want to go and walk?" I said, "Yeah, I think I do." So that January I went on my walk, and man, did God get a hold of me. He showed me that everything in this world that I was trying to fill that void with was not what I needed to be doing. He showed me that His love and His grace is what I needed. So I went on my walk, was trying to get my life together. Things were going fairly smoothly, but I was still drinking. I was still kind of doing what I wanted to do. Then I met Deborah. What an example of someone who grew up with Christ in their life, a God-fearing woman that I didn't deserve. And I struggled with that for a little bit. Why would God give me a woman like that? How could somebody like me who had lived the life that I lived end up with a godly woman in a godly family? But little did I know, but that was God's answer to a prayer that I had never prayed. He knew what I needed. He knew that we would build a relationship based on Christ. He knew she would be my guiding light back to Him. So we got married 6 months after we met. We started coming to church here at Calvary. Man, life was good. The one thing that I didn't understand, and the one thing that God really opened my eyes on, is I cannot live a life unaware of the struggles that I have as an addict. We rocked along there, and I got busy with work, and I allowed some of my past to come back and haunt me. And I didn't know how to tell her. You know, the devil convinced me that if I did tell her, that she would leave. You know, so the best gift that God had ever given me, that I would lose her. And so I hid it. And I thank God to this day that He give her the heart that she has, the forgiveness that only comes through Him. Ultimately, I got caught, and I confessed to her what had happened, and we've worked through it. And I'll say this, that our life with Christ has never been better. It's gotten us more involved with the church, more involved with our family here at Calvary. It has strengthened our marriage and our relationship. I guess the biggest thing that I can say about where I've been and where I am now is the most important family that you can have is your church family. people that you can rely on, people that you can come to in times of trouble, and people that love you back with a Christ-like love. And I think that and just not knowing God for the better part of my life is why I was where I was at and why I'm where I am now. I'm Jace Moore, and that's my story.